What the f?
Alright, so I am driving home in a vehicle that if you asked me 6 hours ago I would own today, I'd say, what are you, crazy? The auction isn't today. So I've owned many of these. I haven't owned one in a while. This is a 2002 Buick Lesabre. You go back to 2014, I used to have a beautiful like dark metallic maroon limited with leather with the chrome wheels. And then before that one, I had a 2001. That was an 05 Lesabre. Then I had a 2001 with both those cars, very low mileage, by the way. The dark maroon one had like 30,000 miles. 2001 had 50 or 60,000 miles. That was silver with a gray cloth interior. I may have owned one or two other ones since. I don't quite remember. Those are the two I remember the most. So I was on Craigslist today actually just posting one of my cars for sale, the Lancer. And I said, hey, you know what? Since they added, now you have to pay $5 as a private seller to sell a vehicle on Craigslist. I said, I wonder how that's affected buying cars on Craigslist. So I hopped on there out of curiosity and started looking around, and minutes before I hopped on there, this Buick was posted for sale. Original owner, no rust, vehicle spent the winter either in Florida or parked in a garage. And they said that it needed a little bit of work to pass inspection, which they had the receipt from the inspection station saying what it needed. $500 or best offer. Now, these Lesabres aren't worth a ton of money. They typically sell for around $1,500. If you have a real nice one, you could be up $2 to $3 grand, depending on the mileage. You know, I sold my 30,000 mile 05 for like almost $5,000. This was also a few years ago, but it varies. But for one with this mileage, which is average 150,000 miles, this is definitely an above average condition. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But this vehicle is probably worth $2 grand, maybe $2,500 to the right buyer. I saw this thing on Craigslist, $500, best offer. Emailed the seller right away. They only had email listed, and they got right back to me, said it was available, but somebody was coming later in the day. And I said, well, I'd like to come right now. I go, do you have the paperwork as to why the vehicle failed inspection? So I'm thinking, okay, this thing's going to be rusted out. After all, they're saying no rust, but they clearly didn't look underneath it. It's a unibody car. The body might be clean, but there must be rust underneath it, blah, blah, blah. So she sends me the paperwork, and I couldn't believe what stupid reasons this thing's failed inspection. Obviously, somebody was trying to screw them into paying for a bunch of work to be done for the car that either it doesn't need, shouldn't affect inspection, or doesn't cost nearly that much. The headlight switch, that button, which by the way in this car it's got the twilight feature, so the headlights come on and off automatically. You have to touch the button. The button doesn't bounce back out according to the inspection report, and the shop wanted $300 to replace that headlight switch, which by the way, and you can make the argument that, oh, well, you know, you can't turn your headlights on, the car's not safe. The headlights come on automatically. Any reasonable mechanic would know that and say, you know what, I'm going to give it a pass. Okay, reason number two, they said the vehicle needs a catalytic converter. Now, as you can see, there's no check engine light on. The inspection report noted that the vehicle had the check engine light on for a CAT code when it came in for an inspection, and the elderly couple I bought it from, when I got there looking at the car and asked them about it, they told me the check engine light used to be on and it just shut off randomly and hasn't came back on since. This was about a few weeks ago. Well, I put my scan tool in. There's no history code for the CAT. There's no current code. So I may need a catalytic converter. They're not the cheapest things in the world, but certainly wouldn't deter me from buying the vehicle. And then for the third reason, which will probably blow your mind, I think it's somewhat reasonable, but again, it usually wouldn't cause you to fail inspection. The valve covers are leaking, and when I say leaking, they are barely leaking. You know, usually on these Series 2 3.8 liters, and they leak good. Well, this one's just started to leak. It's not smoking because it's dripping on the manifold. Well, the inspection station said the vehicle will not pass inspection because the valve covers are leaking onto the exhaust manifold, and it's a safety hazard, it's a fire hazard. And that is true. It does happen in these vehicles. They do catch on fire because of that leak when it gets real bad. I'm pretty sure GM has a recall out on that. I hope that's the case, so I'll get that one fixed for free. Or at least they have a TSB out. But you need new valve cover gaskets. Big deal. Those are the reasons this vehicle did not pass inspection. There were no other notes regarding any other unsafe conditions. And I can tell you from having driven it now already 20 minutes, and obviously test driving it before I bought it, the vehicle drives perfectly. It has 4 brand new tires. They said, yeah, the tires are in good shape. Good shape, they're brand new. They still have the nipples on the side. So it's obvious they put new tires on a lot more recently than they remember. All the way around, matching tires, brand new. The struts are excellent. Nothing's popping or clunking. The ride is smooth. The ride is quiet. There's no wheel bearing noise. There's no steering play. They did say that over the years they've pretty much replaced everything in the steering. Ball joints, tie rods. When I look down there, I can see everything is pretty much new and shiny. This vehicle has been unbelievably maintained. Had Mobil 1 oil changes since new. So the car has gotten quality oil. It's never been driven in the winter. It's spotless underneath. There's not a speck of rust in the door jambs, nowhere. The engine bay, nothing. It's cleaner than some of my Florida cars. All right, I wish I was able to have gotten home earlier to show you how beautiful the finish still is on this car. It still shines like new. So let's go over the car. Let's take a look at the body. To be honest, I didn't look too much at it because at the price I was paying for the car, which I figured I'd be able to negotiate with them because they had it up for $500 best offer. So I said, okay, you know what? The tires in the car, they're worth $300 alone. That's being conservative. They're brand new tires on rims that are in good shape. So I said, if I get this thing anywhere around $300, nothing else really matters at that point. But the car ended up being fantastic. You can see that paint shines like brand new. Those brand new tires all around. If you look inside the doors, no rust anywhere. Usually in the dog leg area you'll have rust on these Lesabres, and there is no rust whatsoever. You're probably thinking, well, I bet underneath the car is all rusty. There's almost no surface rust at all on anything. Control arms, nothing. The unibody rails. Look at the muffler. Everything is spotless. This is a vehicle that has not seen a winter in any way, shape, or form. Not even the slightest bit of rust anywhere, which to find that up here is truly remarkable. Take a look at those lines right there. Notice how they're nice and silver? Spotless. Spotless. This car is absolutely spotless. The guy told me, and again, he bought the car brand new. I have the original title. I have the window sticker. This is a Lesabre Custom. Now, typically you had to get a limited to get leather, as far as I know. He said he bought the Custom because he got a real good deal on it. And then he took it to an upholstery shop and had them put leather in the car. Now, if you look at these leather seats, the design, the way that they're stitched and whatever you want to call it, they do look like factory seats. However, there is some cues, like the way they fit, that lead me to believe he's right. And I don't know why he would lie about that, but he said he also didn't want the cheesy fake GM leather that was in these cars. I'm not sure if these particular cars had the pleather type material or the actual leather like my Escalade does. But this leather does seem to be a very high quality and stitched very well. And you look at the front seat, I mean, there's literally no wear on it. It's in phenomenal shape. Even the way this is stitched up right here, it doesn't look like a factory done job. So he's probably right. I guess the easiest thing we could do is take a look at the window sticker. Here we have the original window sticker. Looks like it hasn't left the drawer they put it in since the day they bought the car. I don't see any mention of leather in here, so he's probably... So I'm sure he's telling the truth. Again, selling a car this cheap, what reason would he have to lie? about the seats, and they're in wonderful condition, so I'm very glad he decided to go that route. 149,000 miles, and the steering wheel has essentially no wear on it whatsoever, nor do the steering wheel buttons. A few of the buttons on the radio are worn down. It's very typical after about 130,000 miles in these GM vehicles. The most selected buttons will have the paint worn off, so that's to be expected. The carpets are spotless. The floor mats are spotless. They really loved this car. We come back to the trunk. And like I told you guys, Mobile One sitting in here. Here's that beautiful Series 2 3800. Oil is clean and full. Really not leaking that bad. You can see, obviously we have the beauty cover on the engine here, but I don't think the oil leak is that bad. And I don't think the technician had a legitimate concern of this thing catching on fire. No, I mean, that's a very minor valve cover leak. They were obviously after their money. Getting pretty dark out here, but I'll show you quickly. There's only 2 cosmetic flaws in the entire car that I have found. A scuff here on the mirror, probably from pulling in the garage, and I can tell it's superficial. That will polish right off. And a scuff up here on the door, again superficial. There's no dent or gash in the actual door, and you can see they also swiped the emblem there a little bit. Aside from that, this thing is straight as an arrow, spotless, flawless, one of the nicest Lesabres of this generation I've ever seen. And again, I've owned a lot of these and low mileage ones, and this one's in better shape. It's spotless, inside and out, underneath, everywhere. If you couldn't tell, I'm thrilled about this purchase. These cars are very nice to drive, but right now I've got 2 town cars. That's right, 2. I've got plenty of land yachts, the Roadmaster, the Seville that I need to finish and do the brakes on, all these land yachts everywhere. I don't know how much I would actually use this vehicle if I was to keep it. So I haven't decided yet. I'm in no rush to decide. So I'm going to get inside here. It's getting dark. Thanks for watching, and keep an eye out for the next one. I have a lot of content that I've recorded over the past month or so, maybe even longer. I just haven't had the time to edit it and throw it on the channel. I'm keeping an eye out for that.